All right, thank you so much for staying with us. We're talking about the deal breaker here on the social square. Trevor Mbija, Citizen TV Kenya. Now, I want us to talk about three things all at the same time, how best to deal with them. And Robert Burali, I'll start with you because you almost alluded to this. There's the issue of external influence. Sometimes this comes in the forms of in-laws and family members from either side. How best would you deal with that? Because then, do you tell your partner that I don't want people from your side, or I can only take two at a time or one at a time? And does the same happen in reverse? How best should that be dealt with?
Thank you, Trevor. I think all parties have a part to play. The in-laws, from the time your daughter or your son gets married, you also now have to understand, as the Bible says, you have left and you're going to cleave to your wife. So you've got to understand that they need their space. And sometimes we hear cases where if a woman gets married to the breadwinner of a family, then that woman is already an enemy to the family because now things have to be cut by half or even by 3/4. So the family, the in-laws, must respect that space. Number two, it is the responsibility of the spouse to protect the other from the family. You got to make it clear, listen, this is my wife. If you come, mom or dad, if you come to my house, do not tell her how I like my food. Don't try and get to the kitchen. And please, when you come, just come, visit and leave. But the problem is when you get somebody who comes and says, oh, my mom is going to stay with us for 6 months. My dad will take the guest room for about 1 year. And it's not a medical issue. It's just because you are their son or you are their daughter. And that can come into a place and affect very many marriages. And I have talked to many, many people who have gotten fed up. People have packed and said, listen, when you're tired of staying with your mother in our house, then I will come back. Unless it's absolutely necessary, where there are medical conditions or there are things beyond human control, then it is fine, as you're coming in to help a situation. But don't say, but that's my mother, that's my father, so I'm going to stay for 6 months. That has broken relationships, and especially in-laws. In-laws are one of the major reasons as to why some couples have failed to sustain their marriage.
Yeah. Kendi, as a therapist, the people you talk to, what is your advice to them? How best can they deal with the external pressure from in-laws especially?
Great question. Let's first ask ourselves, what was the role of in-laws? Culturally, you didn't get married just boy and girl, isn't it?
Yeah.
People had to go and check out, who is this girl? Where does she come from? Who are her people? What are their religious rights? What are their cultural rights? Isn't it? Are they witch doctors? That was what the in-laws were for. And even this boy, people would go and spy and check on this girl, isn't it? What kind of girl is this? What illnesses do they have? Do they have problem having children? Do they have madness? That was the role of in-laws traditionally. The in-laws were designed to protect the marriage, okay? So even today, we cannot do away with them completely. Why do you think we have itaras and rorashios? All those things were supposed to add value to the marriage, not take away from the marriage. That's why before you leave a home, the parents normally come and sit and talk, because they didn't just get married, the two of you. You know, we came in and we were part of it. So the role of in-laws is to protect the marriage, not attack it, okay? So we have to go back and say, what was the role of the in-laws? Can they go back to do what they're supposed to do? Okay? When a mother-in-law is in town, it's not her work to come and dilute the relationship. She's a protector of the relationship. She's a supporter of the relationship. Okay? Your father-in-law is a protector of the relationship. It is, how are you treating my daughter? How are you treating my son? How are things going? Do you guys need any help? Do you need any support? You want to build at home? How can we help? You know, so let's not rule out in-laws completely. Of course, there are those pathological, dysfunctional ones, but ideally, in-laws were supposed to come and protect the marriage. And so I want to take this opportunity to tell every in-law watching, your work was not to tear apart the family. Your work was to protect it and support it and give it what it needs to stand. That's why you don't just leave a marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll say, let me talk to his father. Let me talk to his mother. You know, that's why people go for, like where I'm married in Western, during a funeral, the mulamuas are a big deal. They come and they're given front seats, they're taken care of because their role was protective.
Yeah.
My uncles-in-law are protective. You know, if I'm scratched in this house, and I'm never scratched, let me make that clear. I go and tell my uncle-in-law, you know, your son scratched me the other day, you know. Yeah. And normally they should call him for a meeting and say, why is your wife complaining? Okay. What happened? So things like that.
All right. Anita, you know our generation is a bit different.
I know.
The in-laws actually sometimes are the perpetrators of the problems in the relationship, and most of the time they'll automatically take sides. Before they even hear what really happened, if they're in-laws from your side, they'll side with you. If they're from my side, Anita Ndiombaya. There's no in-between.
I think it's so sad that our generation doesn't get to experience that beauty of being protected and being molded, and also getting to meet your in-laws. We have a generation that gets married in town and they don't go home to see their parents. So you meet your in-laws accidentally during family events. Trust me, it happens. But one thing I know about our marriages, the one thing our generation should understand and learn, people treat your spouse how you treat them. If you protect your wife from everybody, your in-laws will have to respect her because you respect her. But now imagine coming from a generation where you talk to your husband rudely in front of people. Your people can never respect that man. If you talk to your wife badly in front of people, your people can never respect that wife. But at the end of the day, in our generation, the saddest part, and sometime the other day Burale talked about it, our generation doesn't know what marriage is. We don't even know what in-laws is. We don't respect in-laws. I see son-in-laws calling their mother-in-law, and I'm text call WhatsApp, you're like, why are you talking to your mother-in-law like your friend, like your boys, like you can hang out? You know, I don't understand this generation sometimes. So it's sad that we don't get to experience what in-laws are. And our generation ya kukimbia kwa mamangu. Mom, my wife told me this. Kwanza we have a generation of mama's boys. God redeem us from these men. Men that mkikosana kwa nyumba over unga anapigia mama yake. Mamake anakuja kesho asubuhi utaua mtoto wangu. That's the saddest thing about our generation. Burala, you need to mentor these boys. Anything happens, they call their mom. Anything happens, they call their mom. The girls, anything happens, they call their fathers. Their fathers tell them, Rudi nyumbani. So you see, it is a problem that we don't even know how to respect in-laws in our generation. We don't know the importance of in-laws, and we don't even know how to relate with them. Ata kidogo.
But Robert, and is that where we go wrong, or is that where we go right? Because then the support system, you need someone you can trust. And I, for one, would definitely call my mom if things go south. I want to find out what she thinks before calling my boys, because my boys will be like, "Ay, msichana, achana na yeye, tafuta mwingine." Isn't it better to find someone who's more reasonable, someone who will tell you this is what you do when situations get out of hand, and you can only trust people who are close to you, like your parents?
Okay, number one, you must change your boys. If that's what they will tell you at the first port of call. I mean, we should have boys. I'm in a group called Muscles, and these are great men who tell you, stop this nonsense, sort this out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with talking to your mom, but it is how you relay the information. Because what where people go wrong is that you talk to your parents in very flowery terms, and then they have this impression about your wife, and then you guys get back together and solve your issues, and then everything goes better and well. But you see what you have done? You've poured ink on a white cloth in as far as the eyes of your mom or your dad is concerned. So you have moved on, but your mom and your dad have not moved on based on how you relate the information. And Candy Ashtiva is very lucky to be married to a great family, because I happen to know the late father-in-law was one of my mentors and my former principal in school. So that is how the in-laws are really supposed to be. But sadly, as Anita said as well, we have young men, there's traffic and you're calling your mother-in-law, "What's up, Shori? Let's have some Java as we wait for the traffic to go down." So we have people who have brought down the line of respectability. You are hugging your mother-in-law and you want to turn around with her. You are there meeting your father-in-law and you are wearing a skirt that is looking to have a divorce with your knees. It is so high up. And you know, so we have gotten to a place we have brought down the lines of respectability, and that's why now in-laws come in. And I hope, just as Madam Ashtiva said, that we would get back to that level where in-laws, their first thing is protect, protect. I have done many weddings, and I remember one wedding that broke my heart. One of the aunties stood and spoke and says, now 2 rich families are coming together, so we'll have a multi-million-dollar family. And I say to myself, is this what that is bringing them together? Then this is the same thing that will take them apart. Value system is key, where in-laws know, listen, we have to protect our son, we have to protect our daughter and their relationship so that they have a long relationship. Okay. And it's true. You must also, before you get married, go and see the family you are getting married into. You could be getting married to a family that are murderers.
Okay. Kendi, let's wind up this conversation with this issue of what is a deal breaker and what is not a deal breaker. What is the best approach? Should a couple sit down and talk through all these issues, beginning with some of the most sensitive, like infertility, for example, religion, for example, if we are not able to have children? Because that is the one thing that nobody talks about before a relationship begins. Until they're in it, then the pressure starts coming in. 5 years on, 8 years on, and the people are very good at that, including family members, and sometimes even more insensitive. Should you then start talking about these things one at a time, beginning with ones that you don't have control over, like infertility?
Yes, it's important, and that's what marriage counseling is for. Talk about these things. The truth is, we don't know about tomorrow. We don't. People have lost husbands in 6 months, 5 months, 3 months. People have lost wives. People get diagnoses like cancer. You know, let's not marriage. You know, marriage is not a legalistic experience. We're doing life together, okay? So when they say for better or for worse, let us prepare ourselves for, you know what, all hell could break loose. And how we're going to handle that, or all heaven could break loose. So it is important to discuss all these things. But the reality is this: your wife may not know whether she'll keep her job in the next 5 years or not. Your husband may be retrenched. Honestly, you're not marrying a saint. You're not marrying a half human, half God. You're marrying a human being. Okay? Many times couples don't even know they'll have fertility problems. All right, so we cannot go into it legalistically. We can only go into it relationally and say, you know what, I love you, I care about you, I think you're good for me. All right, so at the very basics, let's agree to treat each other well, to the best of our ability in all seasons, whatever season of our lives that comes. Whether we are loaded or we're not loaded, whether we have kids or not have kids, whether we stand and have to bury our parents together, whether we have to lose our mortgage together, let us purpose to be friends. Let us purpose to be there for each other. Because let me tell you, life will happen. I don't care who you are. Life will happen. But you've been married 30, 40, 50 years. You've gone through hell and back together. And that's what makes a great relationship. That, you know what, when I was having my baby, you were there with me. Or our baby, you were there with me. When I had to bury my mother or father, you were there with me. When I had to wait for a biopsy to come, you were there with me. When I had to go through chemo, you were there with me. That is what a relationship is. Two are better than one, because if one falls, the other will pick him up. So let's not go into it so legalistically, like I'm going to choose a wife based on whether she can conceive or not. What if she can conceive and her kids die after birth? You know. So life happens. Let's treat each other kindly, with respect and compassion. Let's genuinely care for each other. As whatever you are watching me today, treat your partner well. I am so sick and tired of seeing people wailing in counseling rooms. I'm sick and tired of seeing men, grown men with tears in their eyes, being harassed by daughters of Jezebel, you know, or seeing young men harassed by sons, or young women harassed by sons of Pharaoh. No, please. Let's treat each other well, all right? That will be a very good thing.
And you're saying there's no script to this, Kendi. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, we don't have to necessarily talk about it and say when we have a disagreement, we resolve it in 24 hours. We go bit by bit as long as we're good to each other. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a connection issue there with Kendi. Let's bring in Robert Burale on this. So there's no one size fits all, right, Robert? Because then what Kendi was saying now is as long as you treat each other to the best of your ability, then you don't necessarily have to have these rules written down. Number one, if we ever have a disagreement in this house, if it is about money, we talk about it end month. If it is about not coming home on time, we talk about it in 24 hours. There are no clear-cut rules, right?
There are no clear-cut rules, but I do believe they're what we call guiding principles. What am I talking about? Like, for me, I would go to scripture. Don't let the sun go down while you're angry at each other. So maybe you say, if there's an issue that is disturbing you, let's sort it out immediately. But how we sort it out must be on the parameters of respect and love, not talking at each other. I believe when there's a disagreement between two people, they need to understand they're not fighting from opposing sides, but they're fighting from the same side, looking at a common enemy who wants to break the marriage. So no clear-cut time, but way of sorting it out, but the guiding principle should be the same. Like, let's not slip. If there's something disturbing you, if you don't bring it forth, it will plant seeds And you might start thinking about things that I've not even done, but based on what you feel and you've kept quiet, now you start getting all these other funny things coming into your head. But when we talked about fertility, allow me to go there. Yes, some people may get into marriage and then discover they have those issues. But also remember, Trevor, there are other people who know some of these things before they get into the marriage. I believe in full disclosure in as far as fundamentals are concerned. Let me not find out that, oh, you got a son somewhere or a daughter somewhere who has been living in the village for the last 10 years and you don't tell me, and you tell me after marriage. Those are things that you will need a lot of grace when you reveal them after marriage. You understand? So there's some things, the fundamentals, oh, I have fertility issues. Maybe that's why my marriage ended. They all left me because I can't sire a child and I'm barren. Make sure you tell the person so that they make a decision, having understood you have put everything on the table. But things like, oh, you know, I had 7 boyfriends before I met you. Those are useless things you don't have to say to anybody.
I like when he said that. I like when he said that you're fighting from the same side towards a common enemy. And that is the part that people mostly lose. Because if we have an issue, say, if Anita Ray and myself have a bit of a problem, it will always be associated with the person who's perceived to have brought that problem upon us. So we are fighting against each other rather than fighting against that issue. And that is where somehow direction is lost and emotions come into play.
Yes, sir. There must be revelation in how you fight your battles. Because the ones who married, Madam Kendia Shtiva is married. I'm sure I'm not wrong when I say it's not always been ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. But why are they still together? It is because they understand we are hurting, and that's why we are disagreeing, because we love each other and we want this marriage to survive. But hang on a minute. We must be fighting a common enemy. There is an enemy that does not like a purposeful marriage to thrive. So we are going to fight that enemy. Why did you shout? Why did you allow the enemy to make you shout? Why did you try and lift your hand? Why was there a physical move that would whisper violence? So let's sort out. And once you look at, there's a common enemy fighting us, I kid you not, you may survive very great things, and God will be glorified in your marriage, and your children will be happy, the world will be happy, and everybody will be happy. Anita Ray will like to get married as well when they see marriages are surviving. And I can't wait for Anita Ray to get married. I will come and dance in that wedding. I have retired from emceeing weddings, but for Anita Ray, I will come, I will give you sound, and I will MC for free.
Anita Ray, when are we coming for the wedding? I'm just kidding. Your final remarks on this?
I think Robert Burale, I love how he talks about situations, because he leaves it open and accommodates our generation in it. But he said it all. And I think the most important thing our generation needs to learn is how to fall in love with each other, to get to know each other. Stop meeting people in the club and taking them home and getting married because you don't know someone. You don't take time to know someone. And the most important thing, I think, for our generation to learn is honesty, loyalty, and respect. Love comes in a marriage and in a relationship, but honesty, loyalty, and respect is really important. And a relationship is hard work. It's not just saying I love you. It's not posting your picture on Instagram every day. It's not actually pretending out there. Learn to keep your love life private, because it's your love life. As we don't care on social media, we're just there to like the pictures, criticize. And actually, Robert Burale wrote the other day, bad news is the best news on social media. We don't like happy couples. There's nothing to comment on there, you know. But once we see people breaking up, we're going to spend days following that story. So learn that staying with someone is hard work. It takes time, patience, perseverance. Get to know that person, what you like. And be honest. I don't like this. This is a deal breaker for me. I won't stay if this happens. When you see people pretend, don't pretend. Be yourself. Be honest with yourself. And most importantly, be honest with others. Then that's it.
All right. Thank you so much. Anita Ray, radio personality, Robert Burale, life coach, and Kendia Shitiva, marriage counselor and psychologist. Thank you so much for making time for us. Listen, treat each other well and fight from the same side. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa. Time now.